Hey everyone, and welcome back to our series on psychological capital. And today we're exploring the component of hope. Hope is defined as the perceived capability to derive pathways to desired goals and motivate oneself via agency thinking to use those pathways. So, first, we're going to take this definition from Charles Snyder. He's one of the leading theorists on hope. He's written some really interesting articles about hope and hope theory. We're going to break down this definition and then talk about some ways that we can develop hope. So, first of all, there are multiple paths to a goal achievement. So, when we think about a goal that we've set, often we think through multiple steps that will allow us to achieve that goal. But we tend to sometimes have tunnel vision. We see one way to get to the goal. There's something out there in the future. First, I need to do step 1, then step 2, then step 3, and then I'll have achieved the goal. So what hope theory tells us is that there are multiple paths to goal achievement. If we think about this picture, the goal might just be to take a walk through the forest. So your goal is to get to the other side of the forest, assuming there is another side. We can either take the path to the left or we can take the path to the right. Both are going to allow us to achieve the goal. One path might go beside some water and you'd like to see, a creek or something. The other path may have some steep inclines or ups and downs, and you've got your hiking shoes on and you're ready to kind of tackle that. So thinking through those two paths, which one are you going to choose? What if you got part way down one path and there's, trees that have fallen and you can't go any further? You don't give up hope. You can turn around and come back and take the path that you didn't choose initially. So in hope theory, there's no such thing really as false hope. To some extent, there's no failure. You would just say, well, that didn't work. And you would turn around and try something different. So, or maybe there's failure, but it's not failure that causes you to just give up on your goals, right? You come back and you say, let's try something different. Let's pick a different path. The second part of that definition is to motivate oneself through agency thinking to use pathways. So the motivation of oneself suggests that there's some kind of intrinsic motivation. There's something within you that is causing you to want to achieve that goal. It's not an external thing. It's not a job demand. It's not, something that a friend or a spouse or somebody has challenged you to. It's something that you want to achieve yourself. So agency thinking is confidence and intention towards achieving something. It's really having that can-do attitude and saying, I really want to achieve this and I know I can do it. And here's how, and being specific and intentional about achieving that goal. And we're even thinking about using pathways. So you see this as agency thinking to use pathways. It is being intentional and it is being confident. It's also saying there's more than one way to accomplish this, and I'm willing to try different paths. If my initial path doesn't work out, I can bounce back and try something else. And I'm still hopeful about reaching the end goal. Okay, so there's different ways we can develop hope. And I've put a link to a website on the references slide that you can read more about this. But I really liked these things from Positive Psychology that just talk about ways we can develop hope. The first one is to create a hope map. A hope map is somewhat like a bucket list, thinking through what are some goals that you want to achieve, and then maybe what are some of the pathways to get there. So thinking through a goal. Sometimes our goals are very lofty. I have a goal right now to finish my dissertation. Well, what does that mean? In the steps to accomplishing that, it's read 3 articles, write 1 page, write 500 words, submit a chapter, right? There's different pieces. There's ways I can break that goal down so that I can achieve it. The second one is keeping a hope journal. So a hope journal is just a way to think through in your journaling process if you already have one. At the end of the day, think about some ways that you achieved goals. How were you hopeful? When did you have to bounce back and use a different path? When did you have to grab somebody else and ask them to help you look at something in a different way because you're just kind of stuck and couldn't see a way forward? The third way you can develop hope is to explore your beliefs about hope. So sit down and think about, what is hope? How would you define hope? What does hope look like for you? When was a time that you felt very hopeful? Who do you know who has very hopeful outlook? And what are some of their actions and beliefs that you've seen that you want to maybe take on as a way of acting yourself or a way of believing something? And the fourth one is to create an internal movie. So think about that goal that you're trying to achieve, something you're hoping for, and create a movie in your mind where the protagonist is trying to reach for the same thing. The protagonist has the same goal. What does that person look like? What are they doing to achieve the goal? You know, the sky's the limit in movies. Anything is possible. So what are some ways that they're achieving the goal that you would also like to achieve? When things are working, keep going in that direction. And when things aren't working, it's time for change. How will you know? Well, maybe you've kept a hope journal. You've written down some things where you've seen hope working, or things that you've been hopeful about, or goals that you've been able to accomplish. And if you see some patterns that seem to work for you, keep using those patterns. And if you're feeling like the things that you're trying consistently push you into a different pathway, or you do constantly come up against a barrier, it's time to make a change. It's time to look at things differently. Pull from your agency thinking to look at how you could use a different pathway to move forward. And I just wanted to share this quote. It's from the same article from Snyder. He says, "A rainbow is a prism that sends shards of multicolored light in various directions. It lifts our spirits and makes us think of what is possible. Hope is the same, a personal rainbow of the mind." So thinking about rainbows and what they look like, and if you've seen one, sometime after rain, and it's these prisms of light reflecting all these colors, but it gives us hope. Rainbows are a symbol of hope. You could look at the different colors as the multiple pathways, and as they hit something, they refract and bend and move in a different direction. They don't just end. You don't just see one color end. It moves in a different way. And so thinking about hope as a prism, as multiple ways of light shining into your goal achievement, right? How can it help you narrow in on one specific way to achieve part of a goal? And so I've shared some references. There's the link to Snyder's article, really good article about hope theory. And then also a link to the positivepsychology.com website where I found the 4 ways to develop hope. They have some really great things on their website. And I hope you learned something about hope today. See you next week for efficacy.